Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, hello there. Good morning, and thank you for being with us on this Thursday morning. It's quite a very cold one and a wet one. Well, clearly, we are trying to carry on the weather from yesterday, but again, we have been warned, so you don't have any excuse whatsoever. The only prayer is that you can manage to work around the weather and you get to where you want to be 100%. The rain shouldn't be quite an obstruction. We need to find a way around it. It's a Thursday, Throwback Thursday. My name is Philomena, Mastiko, and Good Morning Uganda is officially in to probably give you some warmth here and there. And I am with the full house, the full crew that are all ready to throw it back a little. I do have Felix, NKUNDA, Mollen, Kenyena, and Kirabo. I will tell you something, you guys. You know, this Thursday and the rain, it takes me back in the days when we used to freely and openly play in the rain. You know, we felt so good about it. I don't know if you did it. If you did not, you missed quite a very major part of your childhood, especially Felix. You look like those kids who did not do that. But I mean, it's part of childhood. I did enjoy it. Though right now, I don't think I would go back under that train to do the craziness I did. Well, good morning, Felix.
Good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing fine.
I must say you look awesome in that green.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mollen did do the green yesterday. You did it again today. So trust me.
It must be the trend.
I'm going to get a green suit one of these days. But anyway, good morning, our viewers, and thank you so much for waking up with us here. And good morning, Uganda. Now, Throwback Thursday, quite a lot of memories. And one of them, Phil, is what you said, that earlier days, we used to play in the rain. I remember they used to tell us you're going to get malaria.
Yes.
Now, I just don't know, maybe the biological comrade on this team, the relationship between rain and malaria,
yes.
I never got, first and foremost. But also, there's this thing of, I don't know if I put it in direct translation, it will be very funny. Okugema immunization. like I used to stop. The methods used to stop, we used to use when we were stopping the rain.
Yes.
There are two methods I know of. One was people with gaps in the mouth.
Okay.
In Uganda, we call it Maribu. Because even there was that song where we used to say, Maribu Torea to give me the Nkuba. Like, but then there was another method of, of stopping the rain, yes, which I know Robert knows, which was quite, you would use a particular part of the body as a child. So Robert will tell us that one, but I don't know if that really works. Is it true that people can really stop the rain?
No. There's been quite a very serious argument between scientists and traditionalists, you know, where scientists believe, no, there is nothing tradition about this. Mollen is part of that group, by the way.
I know one person here who's hired for shows in Uganda.
have a lot to say about that.
And again, that's what I wanted to ask her in particular, but
yes,
there's someone I know in Uganda who's normally said to be used for that purpose on shows.
It's not just
I don't know if you've heard of it. Oh,
I've had stories where, you know, if you have functions coming in, there is a special budget that is put aside for that person.
So you hire a Mr. Bob to come and do his...
And now that we have spoken about Mollen, she needs to tell us. Good morning, Mollen. Is it true?
It's a very good morning to you, Philomena, and the team, and of course, viewers out there. Well, let me make this clear. It is not true. There is no traditional way of stopping rain or making rain. It's not there. I can tell you that for sure. There is no proven scientific way of stopping rain. This is something that is scientifically made. So how are you going to stop it? If the clouds are developing in the atmosphere, which traditional thing is going to communicate with them and tell them, you know what, lose the moisture that you already have, yes, to bring the rain? I say we just have to get away from that. Those are superstitious stuff. And if anyone takes your money saying they will make rain or stop rain, it's just on you. Do not give anyone your money. It's still going to be...
Well, and it works, yes.
No, these people have just gotten away with it because over time, they have had the experience of knowing consistency.
Uncle Bob seems to have a story about
you know for sure that
he's one of the guys they hire.
It's a rainy season. So obviously, you're going to have the rains because it's a rainy season. So if I were to be here and say, you know what, it will rain tomorrow, that means I have more than 50% because it's a rainy season.
Robert.
And obviously, there's something that...
Yes.
Felix mentioned about the malaria and the rain. Of course, when it is raining, then you know you're creating more breeding grounds for mosquitoes. So maybe that was the reason. So it's not direct, but because it is raining, you're going to have more mosquitoes out there, and obviously translating into malaria.
Robert will tell us that story. Good morning, Uncle Bob. You seem to be in total agreement, total disagreement. I don't know where you fall in this conversation, but please enlighten us.
Well, a lovely morning to you. I'll start with the fever issue. Actually, you would get a temperature. Even today, if a child plays in the rain, I think the body, because of that so much cold, later on that child is going to get temperature. So remember those days, maybe when you would be hot, they'll tell you "Omusujja gumuluma." But it could simply be, the body is reacting to that extreme cold that you've been in, so it will bring temperature. Even these days, if you take your child to a swimming pool, and maybe the weather is not that very fine, she will develop high temperature. When you take them to the doctor, they look at the history, they'll say, oh, it's a temperature, they just give you tablets to cool down the temperature, or if it's so high, an injection. So it wasn't necessarily malaria, it was a fever. The body was reacting and would bring out temperature. Then about rain, my sister Mollen, even in science, I believe that they believe there is, where science ends, that supernatural power, that they also believe that something somewhere, don't joke. I can bring a person to the clouds, every sign of rainfall is coming, they do some little practice, and I want to tell you it won't rain. So if you've not yet experienced certain things here in Africa, just wait. There is Africa, and there is Africanacity, and there is tradition. Some things, yes, there are people that can stop rain from coming.
There is only one
from coming.
There is only one.
No, I'm not part of
them. Kirabo, I'll agree with you on only one occasion, the supernatural one, being the biblical times, when God actually had a hand in that, and for a prolonged time there was drought, prolonged time there was rain, continuous rain. That's the only thing that we acknowledge even in science, only by God.
Why do you believe that the God
How is that
cannot
related?
listen to the prayers
How
of
is that
today?
related?
This is an argument that will always go on and on. Just supernatural actions, science versus traditionalism. And again, it's not only centered here. Everywhere I've had this kind of argument in all societies. But everybody believes what they believe in. However, there is one person I would really think that maybe they will need some supernatural intervention, and that is the Finance Minister, Honorable Kasaija, who is being quizzed by Parliament once again to explain why some of the loans that are being taken in by several ministries are not performing. For example, they were talking about the 17.4 trillion, which they say was given to the Ministry of Energy, and they're not performing. They're not seeing the results. And again, this is not the first time he was before the Parliament. I don't know, he needs supernatural powers. I don't know what the explanation is going to give this time round. I don't know. Robert, you're not happy the other time when he came and he openly declared how he, signed a certain document by mistake. So today, what is he going to tell us?
Well, we are waiting to see. But for me, I think over time, I'm getting used to the Honorable Mr. Matia Kasaija. And today, my biggest concern is the by-election in Busongora.
Yes.
That is in Kasese district, where they are going to the polls and they are going to be electing their member of parliament after court nullified the winner of the previous election on grounds of malpractices, electoral malpractices. So it has been a hot one compared to the by-elections that we've had so far. Busongora has not been an easy one. We just hope and ask our brothers and sisters there to be very peaceful and just know there's always a winner and a loser, and avoid some scenes I was seeing last night, some lot of a fertile ground for violence. Let them understand it's all about choosing who is going to be your leader. You lose, you've lost. You go, you prepare, maybe you come back. We have people who have contested 5 times in elections and they are still winning.
Well, Robert, I will tell you, it takes a certain kind of maturity for a person to concede to having failed, especially in an election or in any kind of, competition. So for a person to understand that he or she is not the people's choice, it's quite hard. Maturity doesn't come with age. You could be about 80, but you're very mature. You cannot come to face the fact that, well, you're not a person's or people's favorite. And
Philip. I mean,
No. It's just the way you understand
I tell you
situations. Yes.
I've been, and your point is quite valid, and defeats the purpose of the grammar. Honestly.
Yes.
Like the story did say earlier, in relation to our dear Minister of Finance. Every time he's before this committee, the other committee, he's always apologizing. You remember even was before the lands committee.
He's a honest man.
Yes.
He's a honest man.
No. We can't confuse honesty.
Honesty is not what we need from him. We need performance.
Yes.
It's as simple as that.
You cannot continuously apologize. What happens? Are you going to keep underperforming?
What is happening, I think, is him taking responsibility. He's at least one of the ministers that come out if something is said about his ministry.
There must be repercussions.
And you look at the fact that
responsibility
also,
with the taxpayers' money.
Yes.
There must be some repercussions to the
in
responsibility.
some of these ministries also that actually just that taking these loans are not performing, and of course with that you cannot blame it
But
now
you
on
keep
the
giving.
Ministry of Finance. And but even talking about Ministry of Energy, we have an issue. There's going to be load shedding, and I think a lot of places in the country have been experiencing that. That was after Isimba Dam was shut down on 9th. And I was listening to what Honorable Ruth Nankabira was saying about the fact that they are going to now be importing some electricity from Kenya, at least 60 megawatts. And that means that they also have to work on Karuma to start, whatever electricity again. Otherwise, we could be looking at more load shedding for now. And she did say that at least some facilities will be spared from the load shedding. Also from Umeme, what they're saying is that at least hospitals and most of the busy places will be spared. But how about the rest of the Ugandans who will need this power? So I think most of these ministries also need to be performing. For example, why isn't Karuma performing the way we should be having it? That's still a big question.
Speaking about Throwback Thursday, remember those days when you used to have electricity in tons today, tomorrow, then they're
I don't remember those days, Felix.
You would actually count the days and you're like, after 3 days it will come back.
So Felix, you're around with the days of UEB.
Absolutely. UEB, come on.
But I think we were all around by then. And now I do remember.
I know how to get my people.
Well, there is a lot happening when it comes to the scene of news. And I'm telling you, Uganda, we do have a lot happening. Africa, we have a lot happening. On the global scene, my oh my, I will tell you that there is quite a lot of news. And it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we help you catch up. If you missed, just in case you're running up and about, well, it is our duty once again to S you in onto some of these stories, starting off with our very own right here at home.
And it is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, receiving the highest award in scouting that was given to him by scouts yesterday. President Museveni received the world's highest Jamboree Award of Good Leadership. The award was presented to the President during the closure of the National Scouts Camp at Kazi. Addressing the Scouts, President Museveni asked them to take the lead in protecting the environment. President Museveni was attending the closing ceremony of the National Scouts Camp that said on the 12th of August at the Scouts Home in Kazi, Wakiso District. At least 2,873 scouts attended the 5-day camp, which recorded the youngest scout, a 17-month-old Sanyu Davina from Kamuli District. 39 of the scouts were awarded a wood bandage, which is equivalent of a degree level. The scouts participated in game competition, parade organization, talent and culture shows, music, dance and drama. President Museveni, also the patron of the Uganda Scouts Association, tasked the scouts to conceptualize the issues of people and find solutions. Among the issues, the president pointed out climate and environmental challenges, as well as self-inflicted poverty emanating from inadequate application of abundant Africa resources by our people.
Well, of course, also still in local stories, the Electoral Commission has assured the people of Busongora County South that everything is set to ensure that they exercise their mandate on today, as they will be electing their leader who will represent them in Parliament. Now, speaking during the stakeholders meeting, Simon Byabakama, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, said that the electoral materials that will be used in today's by-election are already in the district and will be dispatched very early in the morning to different polling stations. He also said that everything has been done to ensure that mistakes are avoided, and some stakeholders have expressed concern over security deployment, saying it is meant to intimidate voters. However, speaking to the police in Kasese, the PRO Range Ruru East Nelson at Musime said that police is working to let people have free and majorly a fair election.
And now returning to the Ivory Tower, High Court Civil Division has issued a temporary injunction halting Makerere University from evicting vendors operating businesses within their university premises until the main suit is heard. In the ruling by Judge Boniface Wamala, the temporary injunction application has merit to compel court to issue an order to maintain the status quo of the business activities in the university premises. Last month, vendors operating business within Makerere University premises under their umbrella body, Makerere Business Owners Association Limited, filed a suit against the university challenging its decision of evicting them from operating from campus. Vendors also filed a temporary injunction asking court to halt the university from evicting them before the main suit is heard, although the application was objected to by Makerere University on grounds that the applicant lacked focus. After listening to both sides' submission, Judge Boniface Wamala granted the application on grounds that it had merit. Judge Wamala on this issued a temporary injunction halting the university from implementing its decision of evicting vendors until the main application is done.
Now, the Minister of Kampala and Metropolitan Affairs, Minsa Kabanda, has appealed to all stakeholders in the border cycling industry to cooperate as the government streamlines their industry. The minister stated in her press conference held yesterday afternoon at her offices in Kampala to give updates on the ongoing consensus exercise for the border in Kampala. Now, Kabanda is optimistic that once all stakeholders fulfill the mandatory statistical exercise, it will help curb insecurity in the border industry across the country as per the National Security Council recommendations. She also added that an organized society enables government to have effective preparation, hence benefiting its citizens in terms of approved standards of living.
Now, moving on to some of the international stories, a huge explosion has ripped through a mosque in the Afghan capital, Kabul, according to police reports. The blast is thought to have occurred during evening prayers, killing at least 3 people and injuring dozens more, according to the NGO emergency. Now, Khalid Zadran, the Taliban's Kabul police spokesman, was quoted by local media as saying there has been an explosion in the city's northwest. Reports say the Siddiqui Mosque's imam was among the dead. Now, it is very unclear who was behind the attack, which comes the week after a prominent pro-Taliban cleric was killed in a suicide bomb blast, also in Kabul. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the earlier attack. Security forces have arrived at the scene in a northern Kabul neighborhood, according to what the spokesman said. Italian NGO Emergency, which operates in Kabul, said 3 deaths were recorded by then. Now, the NGO also tweeted to say it had received 27 people wounded in the blast, including children. 5 children were among them, including a 7-year-old. A Taliban intelligence official told news agency Reuters that as many as 35 people may have been wounded or killed, and the toll could rise further. Leeds University has expressed a deep concern for one of its PhD students who has been jailed for 34 years in Saudi Arabia over critical tweets. Salma Al-Shihab, 34, a Saudi citizen and mother of 2, was arrested in 2021 while on holiday in the kingdom. Now, before the trip, she had called for reforms and release of activists. Human rights groups say the harsh sentence gave the lie to Saudi claims it was improving women's rights and showed the situation was getting worse. A terrorism tribunal convicted Shihab of aiding dissidents seeking to disrupt public order and publishing false rumors. They warned that it was the longest prison sentence ever for a peaceful activist in the Gulf state, where Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has overseen a crackdown on dissent for 5 years. Shihab, a member of Sunni Muslim-ruled Saudi Arabia's Shia minority, describes herself on her Instagram account as a dental hygienist and medical educator. She says that she is studying for a PhD at Leeds University and is a lecturer at the Princess Noor University in Riyadh. Her Twitter account, which has 2,700 followers, has not been updated since the 12th of January 2021, 3 days before she was reportedly detained in Saudi Arabia.
And in Algeria, at least 26 people have been killed and dozens more injured in forest fires that have devastated northern Algeria. Kamel Beljoud, the country's interior minister, said 24 died in El Taf, near the border with Tunisia, as well as the mother and daughter in Setif. Firefighters, supported by helicopters, were still trying to contain the several blazes on Wednesday evening. Reporters say some 350 residents have been evacuated in various provinces, and the Civil Protection Agency say that El Taf was the worst hit area with 16 fires in progress. The names of the mother, 52, and her 36-year-old daughter who died in Setif have not been released, but officials say the flames had reached dozens of homes and villages. Northern Algeria is affected by fires every year, with 90 people thought to have died in them last year and more than 100,000 hectares of woodland burnt. Last August, Mr. Beljoud blamed a spate of fires in Algeria's Kabylie region on the arson, claiming that only criminal hands could explain the simultaneous outbreak of about 50 fires across several localities. Wednesday's toll brings the total number of Algerians killed in wildfires this summer up to 30. And in economic news, China induces rainfall to combat severe drought. Chinese authorities are attempting to induce rainfall in parts of central and southwestern China amid a severe drought and record-breaking heat wave. The Yangtze River, Asia's longest waterway, is now at record low levels, and in some stretches there has been less than half the usual rainfall. Hydropower reservoirs are currently down by as much as half, officials say. At the same time, a surge in demand for air conditioning has put power companies under extreme pressure, and the 2-month-long heat wave is the longest on record in China, the National Climate Center says. Provinces around the drought-stricken Yangtze River have turned to cloud seeding operations to combat the lack of rain, with Hebei and a number of other provinces launching rockets carrying chemicals into the sky, according to local media. But a lack of cloud cover has stalled efforts in some areas seeking to do the same. Now, people in the intersection of Han and Yangtze rivers during heat wave in Wuhan and Hebei province. Meanwhile, temperatures across Sichuan and neighboring provinces have exceeded 40 degrees Celsius, which is 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, there you go. Now that we know that health is quite very, very important, every other day we will always sing a song about health, and you doing quite a lot or investing in it to make sure that you are thick. And every other day Robert has that gospel, although this time around I see he has given me this one green bottle, and he's giving me the green light to do the honors. But listen, I am holding the ginger flavored Hallelujah drink, which I think is very, very necessary. Seeing as we're in such a cold season, it's very important for you to have your body immunity boosted up to make sure that you fight off all these infections that come in, especially in times like this. And again, looking at the fact that it's ginger, ginger has quite some very important compounds that will help your body fight against all these chronic diseases. I'm talking about pressure, I'm talking about, all diabetes. So a flavored drink with ginger, I think, would come in handy. It's very prudent for you to look out for your health. I also see some other two beautiful bottles right here. I don't know, Mollen, to talk to me.
What I'm holding right now, this is Hallelujah tamarind fruit drink. And of course with this, apart from the tamarind pulps that are put there for you, there are also some acidity regulators. And we know with this era where people are always taking junk food, you have a lot of acids in your body, and you need a drink like this to actually make you, healthy. And this is why you should be taking some of these Hallelujah products.
Definitely, I'm having the banana juice. Very tasty, I must tell you. This thing is extremely sweet, but above all, it has the morondo. And I know many people Throwback Thursday enjoy eating morondo. So here it is in a drink for you. Also the banana scent, you have mubisi mixed with the morondo. Oh, this is a drink you mustn't miss. And above all, these drinks boost your immune system and empower your body to fight off a number of diseases. So at just 1,500, rush to the nearest shop, nearest supermarket, and get yourself one.
Honestly, I am looking out for the next birthdays. I would really love to know your birthday. I would really love to know Felix's birthday, because I think that drink.
Well, Felix has two in a year.
It's okay, even if he has 4. We'll make sure that we sort him out. Well, there you go. We're going in for a break, but when we get back, we'll be getting into the newsreel. Now, Dennis Segoa, our very own reporter, was over there in Nairobi, Kenya, he was giving us all these updates, especially concerning on how the Kenya elections went. That was a pre and during plus post. So he will be here to give us quite an overview of what he saw there, what went down. He will be joining us in the next hour, as we still have quite a lot to unpack for you, our Good Morning Uganda family. By the way, you can be part of us tech, just know what we're up to. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel, so make sure you go over there, get us onto our socials as well, get onto Twitter. The hashtag is UBCGMU, and let's have a conversation this Thursday morning. We'll be back after this throwback jam. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.
On the global scene, my oh my, I will tell you that there is quite a lot of news, and it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we help you catch up if you missed, just in case you're running up and about, well, it is our duty once again to S you in onto some of these stories, starting off with our very own right here at home.
And it is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, receiving the highest award in scouting that was given to him by scouts yesterday. President Museveni received the world's highest Jamboree Award of Good Leadership. The award was presented to the President during the closure of the National Scouts Camp at Kazi. Addressing the scouts, President Museveni asked them to take the lead in protecting the environment. President Museveni was attending the closing ceremony of the National Scouts Camp that said on the 12th of August at the Scouts Home in Kazi, Wakiso District. At least 2,873 scouts attended the 5-day camp, which recorded the youngest scout, a 17-month-old Sanyu Davina from Kamuli District. 39 of the scouts were awarded a wood bandage, which is equivalent of a degree level. The scouts participated in game competition, parade organization, talent and culture shows, music, dance and drama. President Museveni, also the patron of the Uganda Scouts Association, tasked the scouts to conceptualize the issues of people and find solutions. Among the issues, the president pointed out climate and environmental challenges, as well as self-inflicted poverty emanating from inadequate application of abundant Africa resources by our people.
Well, of course, also still in local stories, the Electoral Commission has assured the people of Busongora County South that everything is set to ensure that they exercise their mandate on today, as they will be electing their leader who will represent them in Parliament. Now, speaking during the stakeholders meeting, Simon Byabakama, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, said that the electoral materials that will be used in today's by-election are already in the district and will be dispatched very early in the morning to different polling stations. He also said that everything has been done to ensure that mistakes are avoided, and some stakeholders have expressed concern over security deployment, saying it is meant to intimidate voters. However, speaking to the police in Kasese, the PR Orange Ruru East Nelson at Musimi said that police is working to let people have free and majorly a fair election.
And now returning to the Ivory Tower, High Court Civil Division has issued a temporary injunction halting Makerere University from evicting vendors operating businesses within the university premises until the main suit is heard. In the ruling by Judge Boniface Wamala, the temporary injunction application has merit to compel court to issue an order to maintain the status quo of the business activities in the university premises. Last month, vendors operating business within Makerere University premises under their umbrella body, Makerere Business Owners Association Limited, filed a suit against the university challenging its decision of evicting them from operating from campus. Vendors also filed a temporary injunction.
Happening on the global scene, my oh my, I will tell you that there is quite a lot of news, and it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we help you catch up if you missed, just in case you're running up and about, well, it is our duty once again to S you in onto some of these stories, starting off with our very own right here at home.
And it is His Excellency Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, receiving the highest award in scouting that was given to him by scouts yesterday. President Museveni received the world's highest Jamboree Award of Good Leadership. The award was presented to the President during the closure of the National Scouts Camp at Kazi. Addressing the scouts, President Museveni asked them to take the lead in protecting the environment. President Museveni was attending the closing ceremony of the National Scouts Camp that said on the 12th of August at the Scouts Home in Kazi, Wakiso District. At least 2,873 scouts attended the 5-day camp, which recorded the youngest scout, a 17-month-old Sanyu Davina from Kamuli District. 39 of the scouts were awarded a wood bandage, which is equivalent of a degree level. The scouts participated in game competition, parade organization, talent and culture shows, music, dance and drama. President Museveni, also the patron of the Uganda Scouts Association, tasked the scouts to conceptualize the issues of people and find solutions. Among the issues, the President pointed out climate and environmental challenges, as well as self-inflicted poverty emanating from inadequate application of abundant Africa resources by our people.
Well, of course, also still in local stories, the Electoral Commission has assured the people of Busongora County South that everything is set to ensure that they exercise their mandate on today, as they will be electing their leader who will represent them in Parliament. Now, speaking during the stakeholders meeting, Simon Byabakama, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, said that the electoral materials that will be used in today's by-election are already in the district and will be dispatched very early in the morning to different polling stations. He also said that everything has been done to ensure that mistakes are avoided, and some stakeholders have expressed concern over security deployment, saying it is meant to intimidate voters. However, speaking to the police in Kasese, the PR Orange Ruru East Nelson at Musimi said that police is working to let people have free and majorly a fair election.
And now returning to the Ivory Tower, High Court Civil Division has issued a temporary injunction halting Makerere University from evicting vendors operating businesses within the university premises until the main suit is heard. In the ruling by Judge Boniface Wamala, the temporary injunction application has merit to compel court to issue an order to maintain the status quo of the business activities in the university premises. Last month, vendors operating business within Makerere University premises under their umbrella body, Makerere Business Owners Association Limited, filed a suit against the university challenging its decision of evicting them from operating from campus. Vendors also filed a temporary injunction.
Happening on the global scene, my oh my, I will tell you that there is quite a lot of news, and it's our duty and responsibility to make sure that we help you catch up if you missed, just in case you're running up and about, well, it is our duty once again to S you in onto some of these stories, starting off with our very own right here at home.
And it is His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, receiving the highest award in scouting that was given to him by scouts yesterday. President Museveni received the world's highest Jamboree Award of Good Leadership. The award was presented to the President during the closure of the National Scouts Camp at Kazi. Addressing the Scouts, President Museveni asked them to take the lead in protecting the environment. President Museveni was attending the closing ceremony of the National Scouts Camp that started on the 12th of August at the Scouts Home in Kazi, Wakiso District. At least
5 minutes after 7 a.m. right here on Good Morning Uganda, coming to you live on UBC TV. My name is Philomena Mastiko, and I am in the company of Felix NKUNDA and Robert Nyonyintono Kirabo. Well, this morning we are going to talk about Uganda Airlines. Now, Uganda Airlines has been in the newsreel for the last couple of days, and I will tell you that Ugandans are really not happy about them, but then there is also a sect of Ugandans that understand or seem to understand what's going there, and they believe that whatever is happening has quite a justification for it. But before we get into all that, maybe we start from where it all began. We did have the COSASE, the Parliamentary Committee, trying to meet up the current CEO of Uganda Airlines, that is Jennifer Turaki. Now, there is quite a number of questions that have been raised, especially when it comes to her qualification for this job. Now, in the advertisement that was passed a few months ago for this particular position, they did have certain qualifications they were looking for. A postgraduate in administration was one of the few things that they were also looking out for the next person who would be taking up this position. Now, through this meeting, we did establish that the current CEO holds a degree in SWASWA, that is social works and social administration. The argument of the parliamentarians is that she's not qualified enough, okay, to run this position. But Jennifer has also been an aide to the previous CEO for a while of Uganda Airlines. Now, she believes she has the skill to run the airlines. Matter of fact, she was appointed by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Now, the question is skill versus qualification. And this is where I want us to take it away from, starting off with you, Felix. When it comes to positions like this, qualifications and skill, because we are putting into, we're thinking about the qualification she has, that is academic qualification, but we are also looking at the skill that she has. She's been an aide. She knows what happens. She knows what is supposed to be done and when and how and why. Now, tell me something, Felix. What do you think about this? The qualification, her qualification versus the skill she has gained over time.
Well, what I can tell you about her qualification is what we got to know yesterday.
Yes. Well, we all did not know much about this.
And of course, we have seen most of our colleagues in social sciences start celebrations. I don't know for what reason. If you've seen the memes on social media.
They are crazy. They're crazy because people have a certain kind of mentality
about social science.
And
yes. One of my sisters did do the same course. Yes. So we're trying to tell her yesterday that now you see, stop looking for jobs in NGOs. You should go to the airline. Aviation is now your right. But speaking about the issue of qualifications, Philo, and our viewers, government and any institutions have criteria of employment, and those criteria of employment are backed up by reason.
Yes.
Such reason, which could be one, efficiency, effectiveness, and definitely execution. It is not wrong that for you to be, for example, a member of parliament, what is the requirement? S6.
S6.
At that point of parliamentary discussion and business, that is the level of expectation that was given to the House. It is not news. When you go to, for example, a chancellor of a university, the requirements are there. Again, the purpose of those requirements is to make sure that they evoke one, effectiveness, efficiency, and execution. Now, there's been a great friction between two things, and that has been a great reason majorly for third world countries. Two things: one, experience versus academia or academics. It's a great discussion for some of us who are in the academic world, that what beats what. That's why when you go to the UK, there are some professions where they can quantify experience to give you a reward which can match up to an academic qualification. For example, a legal practitioner who was, let's say, a legal assistant or a paralegal who has worked with, let's say, a lawyer for 15 years. They have attended court, they have been drafting. After 15 years, vis-a-vis a guy who has just come out of LDC, who would you feel safe with? This guy has not done LDC, probably he's not an advocate, but he has worked as a paralegal for about 15 years, vis-a-vis the guy who's coming out of. Who would you feel safe with in terms of litigation purposes?
Yes.
You understand? That argument is still alive. Now, when I looked at the issue of Madam Bamturachi, she's called?
Yes, Bamturachi.
This is what for me came into play. When you're looking at an airline business and the transaction of an airline, the question is, what would you vie for? What is easier for us as a country or as an investment of government to buy into? Experience vis-a-vis academics. No wonder when you look at the advert, they had to put a 10-year experience on top of the academics.
Yes.
Someone had to have a 10-year experience, I think, in aviation management, blah, blah, and whatever, and all those things. Now, but in the event that you don't have such a person, or your choice is not such a person, do we draw a line between, how do we merge the discussion of academics vis-a-vis experience? For me, I think the argument in Parliament is this. I'll tell you why experience sometimes, or most times, will ride over academics. One, in aviation business, all of us know that it's a business majorly about lobbying. Lobbying, locally, internationally, regionally, whatever it is, lobbying. We have had this industry for some time. It has fallen and risen and fallen.
The curve is just volatile.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But haven't we had experts, I would want to call them qualified experts or whatever, running these airlines? Many of them. We have had them. Shouldn't we not, should we be worried now that we are getting into a discussion of ability vis-a-vis academic evidence,
yes,
or qualification? The only challenge for me, and I want to say this, when you're investigating Robert Kirabo as a senior journalist, you must have what we call a cause of action in law. And my junior colleague, the Honorable Joel Senyonyi, should be alive to that fact. What is the cause of action of this investigation? It can't be just about money.
Yes.
Has Bamturachi defected in operation, in modus operandi of the aviation? Have we caught her off cuff about a transaction, either operation, technical, executive? Why are we concerned about her? But someone is being appointed by the head of state.
Yes.
You know, in countries where, you see, democracy is so funny that we talk about democracy when it befits us. But when a president appoints someone, either again, even if it is against, by the way, the order, it is valid. Because it speaks to the democracy that we always talk about as the head of state. The issue of Madame Bamturachi, and I don't want to get personal with members of parliament, I find it quite shallow, in my opinion. This investigation is very myopic and seriously, what we call, it is launching a grievance expedition which may not cause much effect, in my opinion. You're talking about salaries, the discrepancy in salaries, then
yes,
you're talking about what are we looking for? Is our issue our qualifications? Is our issue what she's earning?
Yes. And anyway, they were trying to connect that because they were saying that ideally Uganda Airlines should have also come up with a salary structure, of course, under her. And now this is where even the salary disparity is coming. Robert, they did put a pin down on how the current salary structure for all these administration members in Uganda Airlines, and we did see that the CEO earns about 87 million Uganda shillings, and the next person earns about, I think, 80, all the way to, I think, 2 million. Now, this, of course, they were trying to imagine, or trying to question how people in this very specific Uganda Airlines get to earn this much money when the same company is registering at about 160 billion losses almost every year. And then they were wondering, how does this help us understand how it balances out? But also, it brings me again, when you look at the responsibilities of the CEO, Felix said, he did say, this kind of job involves a lot of lobbying. There is a lot of international relations that goes on, on and on when it comes to Uganda Airlines. So maybe you could help us understand the connection between the salary and all the responsibilities. I mean, does it match up? Is it worthy, the responsibilities they do or that they undertake? Are they worthy the amount of money that they get? Because this was a question that was being fronted by Ugandans, and they believe, 87 million, what are these people doing to earn this money? This is Ugandan taxpayers' money, and all that. So how does it, there's quite a mismatch for them that they don't understand.
First, I want to begin by thinking they understand. But you see, Kosase, most of the times, I want to commend it. Of course, it brings this exposure, but at the end of the day, we must understand that aviation is a very expensive business. Anything to do with aviation is very, very expensive if you venture into it. And for me, I come from a field where I believe research is very important. When we chose to have our airline fly in the skies again, even before I got where they're making profit or not, there are certain things that came with this. Like the planes had to be expensive. We wouldn't go for something cheap. But one of the things is we had to look at what is happening in the region. People in airline, when you look at Uganda, Kenya, I'm not so conversant with what is happening in Rwanda. But if you compare, these people's salaries came after benchmarking and seeing that what is a person in this position in another part of the world, within this region, earning. This comes with a lot of sometimes movements. Felix talked about lobbying, where in lobbying, one of the hardest things to do is that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you're having Rwanda Air, you're having Kenya Airlines, people have alternatives, all are coming at the same airport. So how do you make sure you as the CEO, you make this airline work? How do you move around the world? We still have to, even issues of regarding spaces of flying zones. It's not only about you signing these. So to me, I want to rely more on, let members of parliament on this committee find out within the region. Actually, you may find that we are not even, it seems much to Ugandan money, because indeed very people earn that salary. Recently, when the president was talking about giving scientists more money, salary enhancement, over a time scientists had said, we are leaving this country because we are not being paid very well. And these are the people who are advocating for good pay of these scientists. So some of the areas we are going to venture in, or we venture into as a country, we are not going to have CEOs in an airline earning much and yours are earning very less, and you expect efficiency. Because there is a person who has that, salary is a motivator. So if you have at this regional level, then that is very important. Now we go to profits, issues that they are making losses. We must understand that globally, many of these airlines, to be honest, not operating on profit. I think it is Swiss Air and Ethiopia, I think, is also trying.
No, Ethiopia is doing terribly bad.
Ethiopia is doing terribly bad.
Swiss and a bit of Virgin Air.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Yeah, because I was very confident with Swiss.
The rest of all national carriers operate on loss.
Are not.
And it's a known.
It's a known. And if you want to carry, and you see the mistake these members of parliament did, they think on how much money you're bringing in. When you're calculating profits of airlines or any form of big infrastructure, we don't look at what it's making and what it's earning, because it has a repelling effect that is for a long time. When a person boards our Airbus and comes into Uganda, for example, and before you look at how much the ticket and all that, this person is going to maybe become an investor here, set up a factory that is going to employ very many people. So if you look at money you're making, then you're getting a mismatch. It will show you that you're not making profits, because airline was not put like maybe you're starting a shop. You count how much you've brought in, how much you've sold, and you look at the margin, and then you say you are making profits. Airlines, countries are having them. One, these are flags of sovereignty and honor and pride. Second, they look at a long time benefit. So when our members of parliament on Kosase wake up and just think of, okay, this month how many people have used this airline? How much cargo has come in? How much are you spending? That is a poor method of calculating airline business. If you're to follow and you want to be very serious, look at people who came in, what did they do? Yes. That's how they calculate. It's like a road. You know, you don't think because you've given these people of this district a road, so how much cargo is moving on this road. That is the man. Infrastructure, it takes a long time, and you look at other trickle-down effects or expansion to determine whether it's working or not.
Okay. Now, also, we know that this very specific Ms. Bamturaki was appointed by His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And again, we know that this position had been put up for, you know, it had been advertised, and they were calling out to the public, if you know you have all the, if you meet all the qualifications. And this is where maybe I would really love to hear from you, Felix. Like, when does the president get to, you know, be part of some of these? Why would he, what would entail him to actually appoint a specific person for a specific position? Because we see that this is a position that was up, you know, for advertising, but His Excellency didn't it fit that maybe he appoints a specific person. So when does he get to come in? When do we get that authority from him to, like, you know, I believe this person has the capacity and the capability to take on such a big responsibility?
You know, the president in any civility is a fountain of honor. That's a matter of fact, Philo, and our viewers, that sitting on that, the highest chair in terms of governance in the country, enables him to do many things, by the way. Whether you like it or not, you may like it or not, but it enables him to do many things in his capacity as president. When we had the discussions of starting or rejuvenating this particular carrier, the Uganda Airlines, it was quite a big discussion. And I can tell you, as a matter of fact, the biggest people against it were members of parliament. But him, as a vision bearer, he continued and soldiered on, and actually at some point even bypassed parliament to proceed and make sure the airline is up and running. In that same line, I would think that that is what informs his interest to get directly involved in how this business is run. I know, as a matter of fact, that most recent, Uganda has opened up routes, international routes of Dubai, China, Guangzhou, I think also UK, Heathrow, Manchester, Heathrow. Of course, we do also Cape Town, I guess, is it Cape Town, yeah? Durban. And I know for a fact that we have the regional flights, definitely, in all East African countries. Now, that does not come because the CEO has negotiated. That comes because the president is directly involved. You get it? Now, that is an international relations whereby the president has to be, probably has talked to fellow presidents, he has talked to senior aviation officers internationally, all these things. So what I'm trying to say is that the president is directly part and parcel of the airline transactions, actually even the day-to-day transactions, you would say. However, what I would want to raise as a matter of concern is that when I saw this, or when you see such a story, you get to interest yourself if you're having arguments about remuneration. One, between you and me and our viewers, one of the most expensive academic qualifications in terms of practice or experience or profession is aviation. I don't know if any of us here has a colleague, a friend who has done this or is doing this. You would know. it will cost you not less than 200 million to do a course of about 3 years or 2 years in aviation.
Yes.
And most of the people who are doing part of aviation work are not people who have studied, away from the likes of the Honorable, maybe Madame Bamutulachi. I don't know where she studied, but which is not important. But any other people who are so because of the dealings in this kind of industry, it exposes us to a lot of spending. But secondly, I find this a bit of a witch hunt for me when I saw the committee trying to take on the guys in the airline, the aviation. Let me tell you, there was a time in this country, and there are days as a practitioner, legal for that matter, there are people here who earn over 1 billion in a single transaction in this country. That committee has many lawyers. If you ask them how much they earn. Remember the case of the Bank of Uganda?
Yes.
What was the cost for Uganda? The lawyers who earned it. Why did Kosase call them? Because this was a matter that's supposed to have fallen. The Attorney General also gave other firms. But you know how much money they earned? They were billing more than 4 billion. Who had talked about? You understand?
Yes.
I think that when you go to members of parliament, the budget of the leader of opposition in this country exceeds 2 billion annually. Now, if you cut that down to 12 months, plus his own salary and other incentives, what income does the leader of opposition bring in? Talking about the airline working in losses, what does the Honorable Matthias Mpuga in terms of income bring in? Go to the speaker, the deputy speaker, the whatever people in parliament. What is the income of parliament? Let's talk about that. I'm not saying they are not positioned, or that's the mandate. So we need to rationalize and look at the general problem. The Uganda airline is still struggling. That's a matter of fact. How do we help it?
Yes.
I think that should be the right discussion. How do we help the Uganda airlines get back on its feet in terms of regional? If you're talking about, I think for me the issue is not about salaries. It's about how do we aid this baby. It spent a lot of money buying these fleets. A lot of money. How do we help it? These things that we do sometimes break it. You put the employees of a national airline in media, your social media, your tweeting. Last time I think there was a fuel issue. It became it was blown out. The media here is attacking its own baby.
Yes.
I think for me that's the issue. Parliament can't be bashing the airlines. Media is bashing the airlines. And then tomorrow you're going to say it is not making profits. Do you know what it cost us the day they said that the airline didn't have fuel or something like that?
Yes.
I think I was aware, and I had colleagues up there saying, see, so work with and the fears are true, even if it were you. So I think all that we are doing could be fine, but we are only shooting ourselves in the foot with some of these procedures. One, we are politicizing some of these things. Because what happened in Kosase looked like it was an attack on the appointing authority.
Yes.
But you cannot, as I've told you, democracy, you must accept whatever it comes with. The president is the head of state. You cannot detach him with the modus operandi of such institutions that are international, that are interstate, that are infrastate for that matter.
Okay. Well, Robert, what are some of your parting shots in this as we try to wrap up?
First, I want to say, as we look for sanity and holding people accountability, people accountable, we must be very conscious. Certain institutions like the Uganda Airlines, even just putting it, anything that taints its image, has an impact on the profits you're complaining about. If a person wants to come to Uganda and use Uganda Airlines and they are seeing such, it is in Kosase, then who would board that airline? Someone looks at it as it's messy, it's very unreliable, they don't know what is next tomorrow. So at the end of the day, they will not. Let's always find better ways of being patriotic as we look for accountability. Yes, there could be gaps here and there, but I think it can be handled better. And also, let's, in the spirit of calling for accountability, let's minimize politicizing some of these issues. That's what I can say.
Well, there you go. But again, I know that it's still ongoing. But at the end of the day, and I really want to buy into what you are selling or what you are talking about, Felix and Robert. I mean, this is our baby. We need to treasure it. We cannot afford to bash it 24/7. Yes, I know they could have been doing this in the name of accountability. You know, we want explanations, but maybe the approach was a bit, you know, wrong.
If you may just allow me, please,
Yes.
Philo, and let me tell you something. I've been blessed to travel a bit. There are things I've never heard about some countries and their entities.
Yes.
I can tell you, you go to countries like the UK, you go to Scotland, you go to the Islands, you go to the US, there are things they hold so dear.
Yes.
As long as it is for the nation,
They can
they
never
will
let
protect
out
it,
there.
even when
Yes.
there's something wrong. The truth of the matter, we are not disputing that there's anything. They could be wrong. There could be
Yes.
issues of qualifications, deal with them. But how and what you say, you get it.
Yes.
You have a tweet from the chairperson of the committee that is international. You have people in the US and what. Who's managing? And this is where I want to take on also Parliament. You people, the PR of Parliament, who manages, who handles these members of Parliament? Who's their handler? Maybe member of Parliament can't have the right to say whatever they want
Yes.
to the world. I think we must have some sort of control. Some of them don't know English, others don't know grammar. Now, someone comes and types things in broken English. Who is handling information that goes out from the August House? Because whoever is receiving this information, how they deal with it, we have no control. Some of these monies are borrowed monies.
Yes.
Now, I think we need to handle, and I think for me, consistently, the Parliament has failed on terms of PR. Because when you say you're doing PR for Parliament, but you're doing PR for what the Speaker said, what the government, we must do PR for the entire. Members of Parliament must have handlers who help commission the statements they say, how they say them, how they frame the grammar, even English is key.
Well, somebody was telling me
Senior
that
six is
parliamentarians don't even have the moral authority to say what
To
they were
question,
saying.
in
or
terms
to
of academics,
question
by
what
the
they
way,
were
for me, I have my issue. No wonder anyway, we had a member of Parliament, is it Sarah Opendo who said that raised the private members?
She took,
let's
she
have at
took
least a
leave
degree.
to come up with that. And of course, that explains even why some of them, deliberations, they choose to remain silent.
Anyway,
People like,
there is everybody is questioning everybody. Who has the moral authority to question whoever? So again, this, and I can assure you, by the way, this is not the last incident like this we're seeing. In just a few months or weeks, we'll probably be seeing somebody else being put under
So
the
the Uganda
spotlight.
railway,
So
nothing
we
else
need to
comes.
brace ourselves for more of these.
elephant.
Well, we're going in
About
for
exciting
the press
Ugandans.
review in our dailies. That is, of course, the New Vision Daily Monitor and the Daily Nation. And of course, we'll still be getting into the updates, that is traffic, and when it comes to the climate and weather updates as well. Mollen will be here to give you quite a full story about that. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using to Gabane. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Press review this morning, Daily Monitor, MPs query plan to buy Kenya's power. Now, what's the rationale? A question that is being put forward by the parliamentarians. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, that is Mr. Thomas Taiwa, tasks the Minister for Energy to shed light on the status of a Simba Dam and go ahead to justify why government is buying electricity from Kenya amid reports that the country will soon be plunged into darkness. And we're trying to rescue traders in South Sudan, says Oriem. Another story to look out for. Now, new details emerge in Nansana's septic tank death. Of course, this is in relation to Imran Bukenya, a young boy who went missing on July 9th, and his body was discovered a month later in a septic tank. And MPs approved 265 billion Ugandan shillings loan for Heart Institute. A new airlines boss didn't have required papers, according to Parliament. Kabale gets 530 million for orphan school. And switching up to Gulu, logistics hub works suffer delays. And getting on to the second page of the story. Today in history, Uganda and Rwanda signed trade agreement. The year was 1966. And Hitler suspends euthanasia program. The year was 1941.
Now we move over to the New Vision, and leading off with a big headline right there. I refuse to alter results, says Kenya IEBC boss. Chebukati says his staff are also being harassed. That is detailed on page 4. But also in the New Vision, housing 14-story city building develops cracks. That is on page 7, and over 200 tenders offers right there. But the big picture, Scouts Day, President Museveni interacting with Catherine Namaje, that is as the youngest scout. Of course, that is also right there for you. In more stories, Isimba Dam MPs summon Nankabira, that is on page 10, and Burundi deploys in DRC. Also, across other stories, salaries, ministers are disagreeing. Of course, that is on page 5. And in Cheyo, government holds organ checks. That is on page 10 of the New Vision. But also crossing over to the second page, they give you a story right there on a book launch. That is from business tragedy to strategy. That's a book right there. But today in history, back in 2002, Toko judge dies in clash. And also in Egypt, back in 2002, Egyptian arrested over 23 wives. And there's also more on the Ugandans to tap into opportunities at the Turkey Forum for you right there in the New Vision.
Daily Monitor Sports, Bavidie goes for the UGC Ladies Open hat trick. Now last year, Bavidie fell short of winning the Uganda Ladies Open hat trick by 10 shots. Now, she will be attempting the feat at the UGC Ladies Open at Chitante. And Simba Queens drowned Sharks. This is the CAF Women's Champions League. also giving you the qualifiers and the results of Group B, Simba Queens and the She Corporate. Again, still in more stories from the sports section. Rwenzori Water to Hydrate, Rwenzori Marathon Runners and Ethiopia to provide a much needed test. Get that in the local sports on the Daily Monitor this morning.
Well, also in the New Vision Sport, he is a monster. Talking about Paul, who has been impressed with Basil Tuma. Now we're still talking more about the African Nations Championship when it comes to motocross. Of course, we are ready for African events. That is FIM Africa Technical Advisor saying that they are going to be looking into that Victoria Raceway track in Garuga Wakiso. That is also ready for the Motocross African Nation Championship. That is there for you in the New Vision for today. But also inside the New Vision, Kambale says bye to FC. That and more of the stories, including Uganda's under-21 lacrosse men run ground in Ireland. That is also a story in the New Vision Sport for this morning.
Daily Nation, and we're still looking at decision 2022 now. This is post the election period where IEBC turns into affairs as bosses trade accusations, and we're looking at Wafula Chebukati, chairman IEBC, versus Juliana Cherera, the vice chairman IEBC, who had quite a press briefing on Monday. Now get that story in the Daily Nation. But also schools reopen to a syllabus crisis. Okay. Ruto talks big, cuts image of a man in charge. Well, again, another story that you can look at in the Daily Nation. Well, that and many, many more for you to get in that paper. But also today, Thursday morning, it's quite very relevant for you to know the traffic. And I want to focus today on parts of Chebando, Mulago, Kamocha. I'm looking at Bokoto, Chigowa and Gayaza Road as you're headed towards the city center and cutting across from Makerere. Maybe just to kick it off from Gayaza Road and Bombo Road, I could say that definitely the traffic is something that you'll be feeling this morning if you're coming in from these areas. This very specific spot shows that the traffic here as you're trying to get to the city center, this is Gayaza Road, is something you need to be very, very wary of. It's quite intense over here, and I can tell you that it's not getting any better. So for the most part of this Gayaza Road, I could say that it's quite a tricky one for you as you're headed towards the city center. And as you're trying to connect to Chira Road, you also need to expect some traffic over here. There are certain traffic build-ups on specific spots that are preceding the heavy traffic as you're headed there, but also still taking you back all the way to Nsoba, getting in, of course, to the main road. Nsoba is quite a freeway this morning. The green is dominating over here, of course, apart from a few spots like this one here where we do have the traffic starting to build up. You need to be wary of that. But also coming in from Chikaya, that is right from Kumamboga, and trying to get to the city center, I could say that it's quite a clear road. Again, you could decide to take a detour and just use Bahai Road coming in from Kumamboga to connect all the way to Chisasi. Bahai Road, for the most part of it, is a very smooth ride for you this very morning. And connecting to Bukoto Chisasi Road this morning, I could say that yes, there are a few traffic hiccups here and there, but it shouldn't be a problem. However, like I say, traffic changes any minute now, and much as I am talking about it right now, 30 minutes from now it could be a different story. So you also need to put that into consideration as you may want to use it. Chisota Road has a few traffic buildups here, over here shown by the orange, but for the biggest part of it, it shouldn't be a problem as you're trying to get to the main road. Now for the biggest part of the main road, which is Chera Road, shouldn't be a problem for the users this very specific morning. However, it could change any minute now. Now, crossing over to Bukoto Chisasi Road, as you're getting around Chigowa area, the traffic over here is very, very intense. And around the Kirabo Road Police Station, again, you can see that the traffic is not any better. So you need to be very careful, and also you need to start planning ahead as you're trying to find your way around that place to make sure that you get to your destination. Chira Road for this part is also quite heavy with the traffic, and you need to also put that into consideration to make sure that you're not inconvenienced, or if it's something that you would dread, well, if it's something that you would rather stand, you will have to exercise quite some bit of patience. So people coming in from all these areas, as you're trying to get to the city center, you need to plan accordingly, and as you're heading to town, you should know that the traffic gets heavier by the minute. Looking at some of these detours over here, for example, this very spot around Kololo, you need to know that the traffic buildups are quite many on several parts of these roads. So yes, you're going to be inconvenienced here and there, as of course you're headed towards the main road. The main road, of course, being the Kampala Jinja Road, is quite very heavy with the traffic. Matter of fact, it's a little bit it's abnormal compared to the usual. We have quite a very heavy traffic around these places, but this morning I must say that the color transitions are different. They're getting in from the red to the dark maroon, which shows that the traffic on this very part of the road over here and even over there around Kampala Jinja Highway, it's quite intense, and some parts of Yusuf Lule Road as well are very busy this morning. So yes, the traffic, I must say, especially for the areas as you're approaching town, are not going to be an easy ones for you to navigate. So you need to be in the know before you start planning your journey. If you're already in it, you gotta dread it and be very patient with everybody. And that's it from the traffic updates. Well, now we do look at the weather and climate sphere, where we do have a lot to talk about. The rains have become rains, and yeah, I think it's starting to become part of my normal life, and I think I'm planning accordingly for these rains, like you should anyway, like you should at this point. If you're moving without an umbrella, or if you're not moving without a sweater or anything, you have a problem. Do not say we did not warn you. I am Philomena Mastiko. Have a wonderful Thursday morning. I will now leave you to Mollen.
Well, thank you very much, Philomena. Now, seeing as we continue to see most of these rains developing, I'll tell you one thing. It is an early sign of or onset of some of these rains across the country, and mostly the southern part of the country. The western sector also picking up in terms of wet weather conditions. Now, this morning, we are having rains across most areas within central Uganda, parts of Kampala, Wakiso, across Entebbe, and more of the areas also towards the east, Tororo, Jinja. More of those are in the forecast for today rain. So if you're still home and you're looking forward to moving out, it will be a good idea to know that kind of weather so that you prepare accordingly. But it's going to be really cold, so do not forget that sweater, that jacket with you wherever you're moving. But we'll be looking into your forecast later on. First of all, let's take a look at some of the climate news across the world. Now, this morning we were talking more about the traditional ways of making grains, and if you know me, I've always disagreed with most of those traditional ways. There are scientific grains though, I mean scientific methods to actually induce rains, and that is what China is doing right now. They're looking into more of the options when it comes to climate, to cloud seeding. Well, this has been after a prolonged period within one area that has been dealing with drought crisis, and of course we are looking at the Chinese plains of mostly the northern area and also across the Yangtze River. Now, this river has dried up in most areas, and also the picture being shown right there on the screen shows you the extent of the river that is actually drying up. All that area that is dried up had actually waters there. So this river has been going into low levels. So are many rivers, especially across Europe, and most of what we have been looking at as a climate crisis. Now, several regions on the Yangtze River have been launching weather modification programs, among which is cloud seeding. Now, the Ministry of Water Resources in China, they are saying that throughout yesterday when they started operations, they will be making sure that at least most of the regions are able to receive the rains. Now, adversely affecting drinking water because of the drought crisis, they are now looking into more of those options towards climate seeding. And of course, this is not an option for many areas or for many regions across the world because it's a very, very expensive process. Now, what happens with cloud seeding is that they actually get aircrafts or drones, and then they infuse in some chemicals. So when the aircrafts fly them into the atmosphere, they have to look for particular clouds, and then these chemicals are injected into the clouds. Now the hope is that most of these chemicals, an example is sodium iodide, is that it will be in the cloud, and then most of the water particles now start forming around it, and of course that will induce rainfall. But also there are side effects to that, and most of which has been mostly pronounced is acidification, ocean acidification, because most of these are chemicals, and when you're putting them in the clouds, that means you're looking at artificial ways of bringing rain. So while the rains come down, they also come down with those chemicals, and of course they will be acidifying the natural way of life. And of course, one of the other side effects with cloud seeding is you look at ozone depletion, because you're looking at more of those chemicals into the atmosphere. They're not supposed to be there. So it's like a quick way of getting rains, the artificial way, which is really not a solution that we would think the world to go for. The only solution we're talking about is act on the climate change. Make sure most of these extreme weather events are not there. That's what can be assured, that you're not altering nature, you're only just restoring what is supposed to be there. But China is going ahead with most of these programs, and I think it's one of it's among the few countries that have tried that process of cloud seeding, and it looks like even after this river levels going down, that's the immediate option that they're going for. But we would want to call on for more action from China. We have seen most countries now upping their game, especially the US, that recently passed the bill, one bill in history that will be looking into climate action across the US. This is something that we would also expect from countries like China, instead of looking at the short-term ways of inducing rains, because this is not going to be sustainable if it continues. If this kind of drought stress continues, we could be looking at more devastating effects other than the river levels going down. And of course, this is affecting more of the residents across the area, because that means that there is no water for livestock, for farming, and even then drinking water, according to the local media reporting from around the Yangtze River Basin. Well, away from that, we also see more extreme weather events when it comes to most especially flooding. Now, we are also having reports that most of these floodings, actually scientists do come in to see if there is a link between the extreme weather events and climate change. Now, the latest, this one is from New Zealand, that is the Southern Island, which has gotten into the third straight day right now into facing more of flooding. This was after prolonged torrential rains across the area. This has forced hundreds to evacuate their homes, triggering road and school closures that is across the southern island of New Zealand. Now, coming top of the weeks of damp weather, they have been having a little bit of rains for almost a whole week. Now, more rains came in just 3 days ago, and of course that has triggered floods across the area. And New Zealand's already looking at more of the landscape across the area, across that island, also permits for more flooding for the area. And of course, the experts and authorities are attributing this unseasonable wet weather to also the natural stream of water vapor, or the atmospheric river, like they call it, sitting above the country. You look into most of these possibilities, like when they talk about atmospheric river, most of these clouds that are forming in a narrow range, and obviously in turn bringing in more rainfall, but also these are just changes that have not been seen before, especially for most of these areas. And of course that will be bringing in more of the rains, meaning that even at this level, all the rains that are coming in will be triggering flash flooding across an area that has been dealing with rains for a week, because that means that the water also in the land is already circulated out there or full in the land. So whatever whatever will be coming right now will just be running off, and that is how they are getting more events of flooding across New Zealand. Well, but away from that, we also want to take a look at what is happening across the country. We do know that we did start off with a lot of rains across different areas within the country, especially the southern region that takes in the Lake Victoria Basin. We're looking at areas like Kampala, we're looking at areas within Entebbe, Wakiso, looking at more of those rains also still going on for different areas. We are looking at also the western side of Lake Victoria, where we have Masaka also having rains as we speak, and it looks like that system is also headed mostly to the central part of the country. Also midwestern Uganda, where we have areas like Hoima. We're looking at the Albert region, will be having more of those rains coming through. And taking a look into the satellite, we also have more systems that are starting to develop, especially across the northwestern part of the country. That is where we have areas like Arua, starting off with mostly cloudy weather, but we'll be tapping into the rains later as the morning progresses. You look at those blue colors right there over the map, that is indicating the rains where we're having rainfall right as we speak. Eastern Uganda also picking up. We do have a few clouds that are starting to develop, but most of those are dissipating, so meaning that it will be paving way for mostly cloudy weather, but we still have rains in the forecast for this particular area. Now the system over Lake Victoria seems to be moving westwards. That is the one that was bringing us rains and still is bringing rains across most areas for Kampala, Wakiso and Masaka right there, but looks to be headed for mostly central. So Ruwero, Woblenzi, you can't expect to have those rains. Right now it's mostly cloudy. Mubende also looks like that system is headed your way, so prepare for those rains. And we're also looking at areas of Hoima, likely to start off with quite a rainy morning for you right there, as well as Fort Portal, still cloudy as we speak, but we do see some of those systems that are trying to develop over the area. So most likely that is the system that will be bringing rains over there. Now southwestern Uganda still having mostly a mix of clouds and sunshine, but we do have that system also from Lake Victoria heading your way, so most likely it will be bringing you those rains later as the morning progresses. And we can expect that later in the afternoon we might also be still seeing rains, especially across that western stretch and mostly the southern sector that continues to have most of those cloudy systems. Now northern Uganda starting off with mostly in terms of sunny and cloudy conditions for the Karamoja region. We have a few clouds that are starting to form. Central north across Gulu right now having mostly cloudy weather. We might be looking at rains also later on as the morning progresses, and that is the same system that will be affecting the northwestern part of the country. But let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for this morning, and that is the one coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority. We also look at those numbers out there because you could be looking at quite a chilly morning for most areas across the country. We start off with the western side of Lake Victoria, Masaka, Kalisuzo, Zimbabwe and Rakai. We're forecasting a rainy morning for you. We already have those rains in the area. Now temperatures are likely to be up to a cool 23 degrees centigrade. Quite a cold day for you right there. Now eastern Uganda, Soroti, Katakwi, Amuria and Kumi, we're still forecasting those rains. We have mostly cloudy weather for now, but we do expect those rains to come through, and also that will be a chilly morning for you out there at 25 for this morning. Now we look at southwestern Uganda, Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi, Rubirizi. We're forecasting showers, those will be across several places. We're looking at a cloudy morning, but those rains are headed your way. Do expect them anytime. That will also be starting off with a chilly 25. Most of those systems are also likely to reform in the afternoon, so it is likely to be a rainy day for you. That is across southwestern Uganda. Now the central parts of Lake Victoria, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, we're also forecasting rains. We already have those rains across several places, and it looks like that will be covering the entire morning for several places within that region. Also starting off with quite a cold morning at 23 degrees. Now you look at the central parts of northern Uganda, we have Jumani, Gulu, Kitgum and Padel, also forecasting rains, and that will be starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. We do expect those rains to come back in the afternoon. Now that will also be keeping most of those temperatures a little low, at least to the mid-20s. Across the eastern side of Central, Ruwero, Woblenzi, Bururi, Nakaseke, we do have Nakasongola in there as well. We're forecasting rainy conditions for you this morning. It looks like that system actually from Lake Victoria is headed your way. Do expect those rains to come in this morning and prepare for that. Temperatures will also be quite cold at 24 degrees. Now the eastern side of Lake Victoria, we have Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja. We're forecasting rains. We already see cloudy conditions over there. Those will be coming in across a few places. Now most of that will also be redeveloping in the afternoon. But for this morning, we're starting off quite chilly at 24 degrees. Mount Elgon Highlands, where we have Mbale, Bududa, we have Buko and Sironko over there. We're forecasting rainy conditions. We already have cloudy conditions for the area. Now those will be coming in with rains later as the morning progresses. Also starting off quite chilly at 23 degrees. And more of that system is expected to come through later in the afternoon. Now it looks like most of the areas are actually having very, very low temperatures. We could be looking at a cold morning. Also later on in the afternoon, we could be repeating that in terms of cold weather. So temperatures really going to be really down across most areas. If you look at most of the systems influencing the weather right now, we're looking at rain-bearing clouds mostly spread across several places within the country, and that explains the continuous rains across several places. We could be looking at a couple of days within this kind of similar conditions, but I will be here to give you most of these updates. Well, that is it for the weather this morning, but we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, and later than that we'll also be having sports highlights, after which we will be looking into Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena, wishing you a good day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone and enjoy free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 Uganda shillings. That's free 2 GB for the first month and free 1 GB for the next 11 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings with free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 shillings only. Airtel, the smartphone network.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and the ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show. Because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
What a cold morning this Thursday, looking outside our windows here, or even if you're to move any part around, and I know many people are still held home because of the morning showers. But remember, we have 2 rain seasons in Uganda and we know them. That is March to May and of course August to December. So at around this time, you know there are 99% chances of raining. All you just have is to position yourself, prepare yourself, so that you don't give rainfall as an excuse, because you knew that it will rain. And also at UBC here, what we do, Mollen always gives you all those updates for you to know how you should move, for you to know how to catch up with time. Of course, I accept there are some inconveniences, that temporary flooding in Kampala, sometimes yes, can be a problem as that as well. But plan your journeys early and don't forget to move with us wherever you are, because we're on YouTube, so you can rewind, you can forward. There's no excuse for you to come up with saying you missed the show. You could miss its time, but you can still catch up with the show. Once again, I'm Kirabo, Nyonyintono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. And I have a very interesting guest this morning and an interesting topic. Now, we want to look at Karamoja this morning. Many times we've had Karamoja, hunger issues, street children, but now I want to look at the education sector. And we want to focus at alternative basic education for Karamoja. Education is a human right. And how do we ensure that the children in Karamoja get this information? And joining me on set is Gilbert Musinguzi, who happens to be the Quality Assurance Manager, Uganda Debt Network. Well, you're most welcome to our studios this cold morning, I must say.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you kept time.
I'm glad I kept time, as usual. And like you warned people, we should always be prepared that this is a season for rains. Good morning, viewers. Glad to be here in UBC TV.
Well, Gilbert, to begin with, where does Uganda Debt Network come into matters of education? Or what do you do? I'm looking for the connectivity.
Uganda Debt Network, we exist right from 1996 at the time of highly indebted poor countries, when we advocated for debt relief. Debt relief, the government was experiencing a lot of debts, and we requested development partners to excuse countries, including Uganda, of the debt that was encumbering them. So the condition was that when we forgive you the debts, then the money that you should have paid, you should channel most of it to social development sectors. And education is one of the social development sectors. And so UDN exists also to ensure that public resources, whether locally generated or externally generated, should be utilized expeditiously and well enough. And Karamoja has a number of problems, many of them, and because the problems are too many sometimes for government and for government to address, government ends up borrowing. So most of the development projects that are in Karamoja are based on public debt. When you look at NUSAF, Northern Uganda Social Action Fund, when you look at there are many development interventions, including even, for example, the upcoming project that is a parish development model. Some of the interventions are backed up by public debt, and that's how we are coming in. Of course, we also have speciality on budget advocacy, budget specialization, research and development, all those, the host of those problems. So that's how we come in, both for issues of Karamoja, but then also the issues of education.
Well, now having explained that background of how you come into the picture, let's now look at one important thing, which is the topic of today, alternative basic education. Let's understand, we have universal primary education and of course universal secondary to some extent. So when we bring in now this alternative basic education for Karamoja, expound more on what we are really going to be discussing.
Alternative basic education for Karamoja, ABEG for short, is an intervention that started way back in around 1998, and it has been going on for some time. Of course, ABEG falls in the context of education generally. And when we talk about education, we look at, we put it, say, let's give it a global context. One of the development, the development goals is the MDGs, MDG number 4. It seeks to provide inclusive and equitable education. Towards inclusive, meaning that everybody should be part, to equitable. Where somebody is lacking, they raise him. Where somebody has something, they put him, so that there is equity in that. So Karamoja traditionally has been regarded as a place that is not so much at the development level compared to the rest of the country. When we talk about equitable, then we need to raise it to the level where others are. And then inclusive, it should also be among, not being left behind. So that's why when we talk about ABEG came in as an affirmative action interventions, which is addressing the issue of equity. That while other areas have some levels of support and factors that would really facilitate education, Karamoja has inhibitors. And so we said, government said, let us have alternative basic education. ABEG, the core element within ABEG is the issue of pastoralism. Pastoralism, people who are, the children who are supposed to be going to school, they were living life that is like they are moving from place to place. So it's not possible for them to concentrate today, tomorrow, the other day, they are in the same school. So they move around and go to other places. So ABEG comes in to ensure that wherever they go, they get some education, because when you miss education at a lower level, you miss education for long. So one of the ingredients of ABEG is to ensure that the children learn issues, say, of agriculture, livestock farming, life skills, literacy and numeracy, how to count their cows, how to write the names of their cows, whatever. So something like that, things which are specifically for the area because it is unique. And so that is how ABEG comes
That brings me to ask you to give us a picture of actually what is the education status of Karamoja as we speak. We know society organizations do a lot of research, because that will then definitely explain why you aren't pushing for universal education as that, but you're more so on ABEG. What is the situation?
We support universal primary education generally, and UPE is also within Karamoja region. but then ABEC supplements it. And in addition, there are other community schools. Because Karamoja is so big, there are some parts that do not have government-supported schools, and so communities have decided to bring their own schools. So the status of education in Karamoja is really wanting. When you look at the results that have been posted, all the past years, say by Ministry of Education, say performance in terms of quality and grades, when you, for example, use the grades as the standard or the marker for education status, Karamoja has always been at the tail end. To get the number of children that are getting first grade, they are less than, say, 30, 50 people, compared to other regions where you find a district having first grades that are, they are all having D4s, the majority, like a whole school having, 4, aggregate 4, D1, D1, D1 in each. So you'll find in Karamoja it's much less. The other element within the education parameters is the issue of, we talked about inclusion, but then the issue of finishing. Enrollment is low compared to others, but even when they enroll, less than 30% of the children who enroll in primary, in P1, by the time they reach P7, that cohort, you'll find that less than 30% of those have managed to complete education. So the education completion rates are very low. Of course, also we talk about the quality. The quality of education. Do those children know how to read, write? Are they numerate? So the quality of education of children in Karamoja compared to the knowledge of others it's much lower. So the status of education generally is much lower compared to the rest of the region.
Let's look at the uniqueness of education in this area, because I believe so much aid has gone to Karamoja. I was in Karamoja with NUSAF for some period of time as a general monitoring projects under NUSAF. And I remember, if there's any part where I've seen vehicles of non-government organization, is where I've seen whites, if I may use that word, where I've seen civil society workers, social workers, educationists. I was like, there's so much being put in Karamoja here. So why isn't this in tandem with what you're speaking today? How unique? I mean, why have they failed?
We agree. We first of all appreciate greatly development partners, including government. Government has labored to put Karamoja on the map. One, government created the Ministry for Karamoja Affairs. It's there, and it is giving them funds. In addition, of course, you have listed a number of projects that have been put in Karamoja, both for government and non-government organizations. They are there. The World Visions, the Save the Children, there are even locals, the Rhinelands and others, all are there. But the results have not yet reached the level really where one would say they have achieved that great impact as would have been ideal. There are some that have succeeded. For example, the issue of disarmament. Previously, there was a lot of insecurity, and people were fearing to go there. But today, almost many projects and programs go there, except in pockets of times of insecurity where we have issues of cattle rustling, issues of theft and others. But generally, when disarmament came, at least there was ease of interventions. You asked, how come we have been giving all these interventions and nothing has been happening? Karamoja again gets a number of challenges that we have seen. One, aridity. The place sometimes gets problems of drought, and as a result gets famine. Of course, we have the issue of culture. We have talked about it, that they are usually cattle keepers, and minimally are they involved in crop farming. And even if the crops were there, also they have some limitations in terms of how would the crops perform compared to the rest of the regions. It's not as rich as that. Insecurity, culture, then of course the vagaries of nature. It is located somewhere where it borders some other parts. You have like Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, which peoples also have other cultures that are somehow either similar or slightly different, but which also have a bearing on the issue of Karamoja's development. You'll find there's, if we have done disarmament in Kampala, in Uganda, in Karamoja, these people, neighboring areas, they may not have gotten disarmed, and as a result, they can raid Karamoja and affect. Of course, because of the problems they have had, little have they concentrated on education. We talked about movement, and if movement is there and people have put projects of education, you find the classes are not in places where children would want to continue studying from. So, of course, the issue of famine has come in of recent, and it has always been coming because I mentioned the issue of agriculture not doing so well. Of course, the cattle, sometimes you have your cattle and they are stolen, so you do not, you are having like 2-3 steps backwards after you had already advanced. Of course, the type of animals they should be having. Of recent, I saw the president giving a number of, is it goats? So we have still had a challenge, which brings me to the question that we are also thinking of how it has happened. We had the project among the development interventions. We talked about Karamoja Integrated Development Program. We would think about why couldn't all these development actors integrate and all bring together the ideas and say, let us have a special strategic plan that would intervene and develop Karamoja best, because we have done all this. But probably each of these interveners have been acting kind of independently. Not each one is bringing their own intervention, but we need some kind of comprehensive, integrated approach to address those issues, because as I agree with you, many interventions have come, but little has been.
Little is on the ground, that is why.
But then I also hasten to add that corruption is also among the major
issues in Karamoja.
Karamoja, you talked about NUSAF. UDN was the part of the partners of IGG interventions in social accountability. And when we went there, we noticed that in previous NUSAF 1, almost there was nothing. Much as government and development partners like World Bank and others had given, through OPM, had given monies, say to have sub-projects, but most of those projects were just on paper, but nothing was on the ground. When we came in, of course, to promote involvement of communities, there was some improvement, and to date, most of those projects have kind of delivered.
I was there under NUSAF too, and yes, you could find out if there were 10 boreholes, maybe 2 are missing. They are not done.
At least, but NUSAF 1, almost everything was off. So we talked about corruption. Some of the interventions, especially those of government, there's a lot of, the money is sunk there, but after sinking, it's again drained. So corruption, as has been said repeatedly, has been draining most of the development interventions, including Karamoja. And Karamoja having those problems, of course, it becomes easier.
Now, rightly given us education in Karamoja, its challenges, like you've put them. One of the issues, I was reading a report, I think it was by some non-government organization, called it later, and they said that feeding has been a major challenge to education in Karamoja. That whatever we do, and actually they gave statistics that when they introduced feeding, they were shocked that presence, the numbers of children that were coming to school increased tremendously. Over 10%. Now, when we talk about education in Karamoja, you know, even here in universal primary education is facing a feeding challenge. How best do we improve education, even if it is basic education for Karamoja? What should we do? Because yes, these may be pastoralists forever, because they have been for decades. The soils, the arid soils, unless government invests in irrigation, they could still be. Insecurity, that is something they're handling, but it's also sometimes on and off. 4 years of peace, 5, then the issue comes. So most of these factors seem not easy to go by day. They'll take some time. But the children of Karamoja are equally entitled to education as a right.
Yes. So school feeding was a very good intervention, both by government and development actors. There are organizations like World Food Program which were providing food to schools. But then also government was supporting it. But at one point, the school feeding program kind of stopped. But of course, the community, sometimes even the parents, were thinking of being encouraged to bring some foodstuffs, either in kind or whatever. But if there is food, no food in the area and there is famine, then the children cannot be able to bring food to school. But then the school feeding program itself, it stalled. But at the time when it was there was a lot of enrollment and consistency on the part of children in education. Actually, you talked about that research. We also noticed that beyond even the children going to school, even parents were getting good excuses for going to school, whichever, whether you are going to monitor your children or you are going to see what, so that strategically at a time when it is lunch, so that probably they can also get a cup of porridge or something. So there is a problem around Karamoja, and a lot of it revolves around food. And if there is food in the schools, chances are that children will be retained and they will continue studying. And children now who are on empty stomachs cannot really study. And even you can find the teacher, if the teachers, the children, the parents are all having problems with hunger, then there is no way the education process can be that smooth.
Well, civil society organizations and NGOs, you're good at making reports. You're good at making research, coming up with reports, a number of which mostly show failures, little successes there that are being done. But I want to put it to you, what interventions are you putting, apart from maybe having reports for the donors, reports to be launched in good hotels here in Kampala, you know, on your websites and all that, but what impact are you doing on ground to ensure that as we talk about alternative basic education for Karamoja is something that we don't just talk about her failures, just don't talk about what should be done, but what on your side have you done? Though we know government is the biggest stakeholder.
We appreciate government. To begin with, we are not like trashing what government and development actors have done. We note a lot of interventions that government has done and which we appreciate. We talked about institutionalization of the Ministry for Karamoja Affairs with a number of ministers. At one point, even the First Lady was there. And there was relative stability. And we give credit for that. We give credit for programs like, for example, we have minerals. Karamoja is a place that has a lot of minerals, talk about gold, marble, lime, and others. Government has brought development actors to come and exploit these resources so that they generate money for the country, including probably for Karamoja, which we shall come to maybe at a later time, how much money is retained so that it can develop the area. We have a place like places which are really good for, one can say, tourism. We have those Kidepo National Parks. We have these beautiful mountains, Mount Moroto and the Iriri, whatever, those rocks, places which are beautiful for one to visit, tourism. We have talked about the NUSAFs, we have talked about Youth Livelihood Project and many other projects. We appreciate all those are good. But then when we come with information, because every development actor has also their role, and their mandate. When some NGOs do research, not all organizations do research, but those who do research and bring information, they also post some recommendations, but they also give data. So information is power. If you give you information and indicate that a bake is good because it has enabled children to learn life skills, but a bake is not among you are not providing, say for example, adequate scholastic materials, there are no schools, there are no structures, no adequate, what do they call, infrastructure or learning materials and others. When we have those and we are pointing out the issues that are lacking, then we are saying, you have done well here, but you could do better here. If you did this, it could be better. We are, for example, observing that because of lack of these schools, they are not in the mainstream education and they do not have, for example, codes where when you have a code, a government code as part of the ministry, you'll find that Ministry of Finance will be able to allocate funds specifically for an ABEC center and gets to know that Center X of ABEC located in Nakapiripirit has it exists, and therefore it needs to be given the following: scholastic materials, needs to be given salaries for teachers, it needs to be given infrastructure, a number of structures, buildings for them to be. But now if these are lacking, then the ABEC that you introduced is wanting. So when you give you information and say, ABEC is there, it was a good program, but do better by one, including it on the coded schools, two, let it supplement the rest of the, say, the community schools that are in the area. Let them also get codes. Three, the UPE program that is there, fund it better. It is having these challenges. Maybe the monies that are being apportioned are this much and they are being diverted this way. Then when we are giving this information, we feel it is supplementary, because you may be acting, but without knowing the kind of impact you would have had if somebody was if you were to do better in some of the areas that are being pointed out.
Very interesting. We are still looking at alternative basic education for Karamoja. This is giving them life skills because of the nature of first their area and the fact that many of these are pastoralists. They depend on their animals, most would be specific, those are cows, and of course they may not be in one place for a particular time. And I'm with Gilbert Musingus. In case you've just joined us, he happens to be the Quality Assurance Manager, that is Uganda Death Network, and we want to see how best can we improve education. Now also help us understand the relevancy, of this. It gives them life skills, but you see, at the end of the day, how does it fit into formal education, where people at the end of the day will be calculated as educated? You know, because even recently I was very impressed with the Directorate of that is industrial training in Uganda, where a person can be a mechanic, even didn't go to school, but this person goes to a garage, can be assessed. A carpenter, and then they keep on grading these people to an extent that this person can be awarded something equivalent to a degree that this person can present somewhere and then get a job. Now with this alternative basic education, how far can it carry someone, apart from knowing how best to look after their cows, how best to count money that they have been given, how best maybe to make a better manyata?
Yeah, it's good. The ABEC is giving them life skills to some extent that are structured to fit the Karamoja setting, their lifestyle of pastoralism and cattle keeping and the like. But also, education generally is meant to be a holistic intervention. And there is the issue of seamless continuity. So one of the areas we have noted is that while ABEC is good and is giving these skills, there is some form of detachment to the mainstream primary education, so that while they are giving them these skills, ideally they would transit smoothly into, say, primary schools, ordinary primary schools, or when they have reached a certain higher level, they should be going to secondary schools. And of recent, of course, there are a number of programs that have been developed, including the new curriculum. But to what extent are we aligning ABEC to these? There is some kind of form of detachment that so the curriculum needs to be also a bit tweaked in order for it to kind of match and seamlessly penetrate and fit in the, say, in primary education, the new curriculum that is coming when you go to a higher level. So we feel it's good, but it's not adequate, that there is need for one, if of course we are giving it resources, and we are also ensuring that there is a structure that when you finish ABEC level 1, 2, 3, then when you go to a primary you should reach and go to, say, P4, and from P4 you will not be a stranger. Children will not be telling you speak and grant and whatever, and you are Anganzi. So there is some need for patching it up with extra information that relates to mainstream education, so that when a child moves from ABEC, he goes to this school. If some people who are older talk about previously there used to be say church schools, or where somebody would go to a church and study because probably they were older, but then immediately at a later time after 1-2 years they go directly to P2, sorry, to P3. And when they would reach P3, you would find that actually they are easily blending with the rest of the children, and most of them actually would even be superior. And children, and most of them, because they were usually older, they were superior to the children because of the knowledge they have gained. They have studied much more compared to the ones of P1, P2. But at the same time, they are older and they reach there and they find it very easy to transit. The older people who went through church schools, you find that they ended up doing better in school compared to even those that had begun mainstream. So likewise, if we can get that approach of saying somebody has been in a beg, and in addition to these life skills, he has also learned the other formal education system, so that when he goes there, or even if he wakes up and say, you know what, I'm going there, he shouldn't start from square one. Yes.
I pray we can get to that, and I believe that will be a big motivator to this. But also, this brings me to ask, many times we think we know what our people need. Technocrats, sometimes politicians, experts, whatever category, we sit somewhere and plan for these people. How are they perceiving, how are they receiving this alternative basic education? The people of Karamoja, whom I know highly depend on what the elders say, committees of elders, then here and there.
That is a very good thing. Participation, the level of participation, of course, needs to be upped all the time, which calls into...
Participation is different from involvement.
Involvement, yes.
Yeah, because we can participate on something that is tailor-made for us, you know, but we can be involved in planning a design of what we want for us. I think this is where the two bring conflict.
I earlier mentioned the issue of multi-stakeholder approach to a strategic plan for Karamoja. And one of the stakeholders, of course, the key stakeholders, the one that matters most is the Karamojong himself or herself. So if we are not involved at the beginning or in its inception, if it's not with us, then it is not for us. If you are bringing it for us and you are not involving us fully, then we might look at it as distant. You heard of the previous cases of when they brought toilets and they would build for them, but people would go and use others, and when they come to inspect, they say, yeah, your toilet is here, it is clean, when actually the bush is smelling, because they had not been involved to be told that, you know what, this is how you use the toilet, we are going to dig together, doing what. So I agree entirely with you that involvement is very key, and while you are bringing these tailor-made policies and projects, consultation at formulation stage and involvement fully all the way, they are very key, and we feel that is good. You talked about NUSAF, and I also told you how we engaged with them, that we had community development programs, and community development, they had what we call community monitoring groups, which we facilitated and we formed. And these were people who are drawn from the community, and we were teaching them how they themselves should monitor the projects. They get to know that NUSAF has allocated us money for the following development projects. It is with the NUSAF desk officer and the NUSAF facilitators. We are supposed to open accounts. We are doing what? Because they got to know throughout the whole process. They did better. Sometimes they are reporting, say, to the IGG and to others and saying, you know what, they blow the whistle. And people are either penalized or they come and they catch them to bring back the resources. So involvement is good, and we have experiences of that it has worked in some areas. So continuous involvement of local stakeholders in seeking solutions and implementing programs, it is very cardinal, and I can't agree with you more.
Okay, well, looking at the clock, time is flying very fast, but I'll, in a minute, allow you to give me your concluding remarks regarding that is alternative basic education for Karamoja.
We talked about aridity. Recently, we were taken to Kapeka by...
That's the model farm?
Salim Saleh, where we were being exposed to the issue of Musevenomics. And the Musevenomics lecture mainly focused on the areas we had toured, and we toured some of the areas that the president had put projects of agribusiness. We had farms like, we had fish farming, we had like banana plantations, many coffee and others. And he was parading this as a model of agriculture, agrobusiness that could work. But they put it, say, in Luwero, which is fairly well-to-do. If we could put also such a thing, say, in Karamoja, and almost in every one of the districts, to have a demonstration center and say, agriculture can work, and you can do it this way. So the issue of giving extra resources that are targeted, say, in Karamoja, that demonstration centers would cause people to say, this is a better approach for us to use. Two, we have listed many sources of funding that are coming from Karamoja. Cement is manufactured based on Karamoja. We have the many minerals that are there. But to what extent are we retaining? We need retention of, is it 25% of the money generated should go back there, and when it is taken there, communities should ensure that the money is being utilized for Karamoja to develop. And education is very key. I can quote for you this, where they are saying education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And this was said by Malcolm X. If we do not prepare for education today and ensure that these children do not go to the streets of Kampala and Moroto and they're educated better, given food and given others, then we have problems that are coming in the future. The last bit is that the school feeding program that had been kind of removed and is proposed to be restored after our advocacy. That's a very good intervention, because the moment children are in school and having food, the rest can come. Definitely, you would have asked, maybe I would have expected this question, that what are the parents doing? Of course, the cardinal role of looking after the child is the parent. The parent has a responsibility of looking after their children. That's what happens in other areas. But Karamoja has its unique problems, and that's why we say government should put a hand to the parents, but the parents shouldn't give up and say, these are your children, but then government should complement, because that's why we mentioned affirmative action. Affirmative action for Karamoja, so that Karamoja can be at a better footing compared to the rest of the country.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Gilbert Singuzi, who is the Quality Assurance Manager, Uganda This Network. Thank you for your time. And I want to believe that the solutions you've given, stakeholders, concerned parties will carry them on, more so when it comes to feeding. I want to tell you one of the things that is going to promote retention, enrollment in schools in Karamoja is feeding. Let's look at that as we take all it takes to ensure that there is a merger between alternative basic education and universal primary education, so that there is continuity and someone has more value for education. Have a lovely day. Ruben will be here to take you through sports updates. God bless you.
Forget the whoos and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
Alpha without Omega. I am Africa.
Hail to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, a land with the world's most beautiful, captivating features.
Hills, mountains and valleys, the enigmatic animal species in the wild. A land where Africa is condensed into one small country with authentic endowment of nature and perfect safari. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, is without the crowds with abundant primates, wildlife and stunning scenery. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, takes you beyond the guidebooks, the known features, and gives you the insights unmatched. Keep it UBC TV, where we inspire Uganda with authentic beauty and nature of our motherland. Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Discover the fountain.